So now that we have our mood board, sketches and color palettes, we're ready to start designing. In this lesson, we're going to create our 2D design in Illustrator and iterate through some of the color palettes. So let's get into it. So back in Illustrator, I've created a new document. It's 1920 by 1080. The grids and guides are set to 40 pixels again. And I've saved the file as 2D Design 01 into my Illustrator folder. I've also brought in the storyboards JPEG from our deck and just dropped that into a layer just here. And as you can see, I've got the 2 color palettes in my swatch folder. And I've also added an additional color to the 2 color palettes because I felt that there were a lot of elements in the design and I needed the variation in the colors. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this part of the storyboard JPEG because we don't actually need these 2 frames. I'm going to select my rectangle tool and making sure that snap to grid is off. I'm going to just draw around this frame. So now if I deselect fill and turn the lock off on the storyboard frame, I can actually select both the frame and the rectangle and the storyboard frame and right click, select make clipping mask. That's just going to cut that out for me. Now I can scale this up and this is ready to use as a reference for our design. Okay, let's start designing. So using the rectangle tool and the ellipse tool, I'm just going to start working this corner here and just using the storyboard as a guide. So I'm going to select the ellipse tool and I'm just going to start making these circles. So actually I need to make sure that snap to grid is on. And I'm also going to make sure that fill is on. I'm just going to start creating a couple of these circles up here. Just copying and pasting. Just arrange center back. And I'm going to make that this color here. I can start coloring the individual circles. Just using the eyedropper tool. I just want to create a bit of variation so that no 2 colors are next to each other. Okay, so we've got a piece that's similar to that. Let's do this sort of thing here. So I'm going to make this piece by combining a rectangle and a circle. We just need to make sure that when we are creating the rectangle and circle and we're actually aligning things to the grid, if once we take the design into Cinema, if there are small gaps in between the individual shapes, we can have like tiny little pieces in Cinema 4D that aren't going to look very good. They're going to feel quite glitchy. So we need to just make sure that things are actually aligning to the grid. And you can do that also by going to Outline and actually see that things are aligning correctly. So we're going to head back to preview. I'm going to make a circle. And you can see here that we've got these small gaps in here that we will need to fix, but we can do that later. going to copy and paste this one, bring that down. And if you select A when you've got a rectangle selected, it'll give you the option to actually bring these corners in so we can make this kind of shape here. And I'm also going to center this to the rectangle behind by selecting both, then pressing Alt, and then I can use the Align tool to align that to the center of that object. I might actually just bring this in a bit and do that again. I like to try to create as much variation in the design as possible. And as much as we're using the storyboard reference as a guide, I kind of just do what feels natural as well. I create 2D patterns quite often, so I kind of just do what feels right, which is quite instinctual. You can also use the shortcuts M and L to create the circles and the rectangles. Just going to center that again. I'm going to use the pen tool to actually create these rectangles here. So if I just create a rectangle using the pen tool, I'll make that another color for now. I'm actually going to copy and paste, and then I'm going to rotate. So now if I select on that, you'll see that I've got 4 pieces here, but they need to be divided. And we can do that by going to Window, going to Pathfinder, and you've got an option here to divide. So let's do that. So now if we ungroup that, these will actually be individual pieces. Going to half this piece. So if we come here, we can go to Transform, and up here, we've also got a Transform box here, and I'm going to make the height 100. So now, if we select all of the shapes that I've just created here, we can press Divide again. I'm going to just make sure that that's actually all aligned to the grid properly before I do that. Select all of those, select Divide. Now we've got individual pieces. could actually take a while, but quite enjoy it, to be honest. I find it quite therapeutic. So I'm just going to make this shape here. So we need 4 boxes. And then we need a big circle. Let's press L. Now if we select all of those, we can select divide again and ungroup. Now we can actually texture the individual shapes. But I might actually combine these two here. I want that to be a square, so I'll select both of those, and I can actually come here and select Unite, and that'll make those two shapes one shape. Create this little piece here. So if I select on the circle I've just created, and this piece here, I can select Divide, and now I can ungroup that and delete this part of the shape, and that just gives me this piece here. So now those two will actually be separate. I'm going to create this shape here. So let's see how we can do that. Just going to make that outline so I can actually see it. And now if we select on the circle that we've just made and these shapes here, I'm going to select Divide again. Need to ungroup. Now I can delete that piece. Now that we've got an individual shape in there, make these different colors. I'm going to put a circle in here. So let's press L. Make this piece down here. So I'm just going to actually press A and actually let's change the color just so we can see what's actually happening. So if I select, press A and then select on these 2 points here, I can just change the corners of these side. And now I can kind of bring those in a bit. I'm continuing to kind of change colors, making sure they're not next to each other. Let's work on this one here.